Welcome back to Dandrew.
Dandrew.
It's been a while. I like that little intro we got where I say welcome and then you go, eh. For every one of those, we need to add an yeah on the screen. No, that's not happening.
Okay.
They already know that by now. So, Dan, what's the big news?
The big news, first of all, we'd like to say we both had this moment because we found out that Joss Whedon is taking over the rest of the directorial duties for Justice League after Zack Snyder has walked off the project.
Yes.
Due in part to the fact that Zack Snyder's daughter killed herself back in March.
That's
and
really sad.
That is very sad.
And that's terrible.
I don't think Zack Snyder's likely to see this, but condolences.
Yes.
That's terrible.
Yeah, not likely, but...
I hope you do all right.
Yeah, I think we should lay off on all the jokes.
Yeah.
All the Snyder hate just for a little bit, because that, of all reasons to leave a movie...
That is like... That's top of the list.
That is justifiable.
No,
Absolutely.
Like, the only thing that supersedes that is, like, actual Armageddon happening.
Yeah.
And in his case, I think he already feels that way.
Or, like, he died.
Yeah.
That would I would understand. If he got in a car accident, we'd be like...
Sad.
Okay, he's struck. But no, that's... Jokes aside, you want to make suicide sad for any parent. And I can imagine he's going through a lot right now. I understand why he stepped down.
I hope he's doing all right.
In terms of, in something in complete less importance,
yeah,
how Justice League will be as a movie,
yeah,
have your thoughts changed at all? Do you have, like, more hope or more doubt now?
Part of me wants to be very hopeful, because I think Joss Whedon has a good track record for the most part.
He's not a bad director.
He's not a bad
done
director.
Some good stuff.
He's got some very good stuff. I thought he handled the first Avengers very well. Second Avengers was kind of but I thought he did the best given the circumstances he was under.
That's mutually agreeable, I think. Everyone likes the first Avengers more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, god dang. With how far... Because when is Justice League...
isn't it?
When is Justice League supposed to be released? Because if... Because I know it's got to be like a few months
It's got to be summer or late summer. I should know this. I apologize.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was like November. I thought I saw that.
I think it's around November. Yeah, it's definitely this year, obviously. November 17th.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is going head-to-head with Thor Ragnarok, which I do know is coming out in November.
Yes.
But those will be competing, and I have to say I think Thor is going to win.
I think so.
At the box office.
That was a pretty freaking sweet trailer.
That was an amazing trailer that made me excited for Thor again.
I think I might have just been excited because they juxtaposed it with "Immigrant Song" by Led Zeppelin.
It's impossible to not get pumped about that.
That's like, of all the songs you could use to get someone psyched about
Come
something.
from the land of the ice and
snow.
snow. Yeah. It's gonna be good. I'm just excited to see Hulk in a not Avengers movie.
Exactly. I'm just excited to see Hulk.
Right. So it's a given that everyone's excited for Thor.
Yeah.
In Justice League, I am still on the boat that this last-minute change in directors is going to make the film almost so bad that it'll be interesting. And I said I wasn't going to watch it.
But now you might have to.
I might watch it just for the same reason I watch Dashcam fail compilations of cars hitting each other. Like, I'm like, so what happens? You know those videos where they heat up the knife to 1,000 degrees and cut something? It's kind of like that.
Except you know it's gonna happen, but you're just like, I need to see it.
It's like, okay, I know what happens when you cut through some plastic with a hot knife, but let me just watch it. So, like, I'm curious now to see if a change in directors, and it is also very bizarre to have the director of Avengers and Justice League be the same.
Is this how Star Wars fans felt when they knew the director of Star Trek was going to be on board?
It must have. But,
I mean, I've already kind of been used to this because I've been reading about how Marvel Comics and DC have been doing this kind of thing for decades.
Stealing creators from each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, they start... I think the biggest one was Jim Shooter, who, like I told you before this, he was a writer for DC at a very young age, mind you. He started writing from when he was like 13. That's amazing. And then, I think by the time he hit legal adulthood, he was like, I'm done. The people at DC suck.
By the time he was 18 and he had $8 million,
yeah, right.
he decided that Marvel had more money. So
yeah, and that's why we have the yearly crossover event.
So,
but it's gonna be so weird because, like, here's the thing. Like, I think we're going from a very stark contrast here.
Very different style.
We have Zack Snyder, a director who I think, really appreciates comics as a visual art form.
Exactly.
And he knows how to like frame a shot just right. And we have... And
he
we're
needs
going
to be a DP, not a director.
Exactly.
We've all mentioned
and
this.
And now we're going to Joss Whedon, who is ingrained in comic book culture.
Absolutely.
And knows, like, I'm sure... I don't know if he's like Kevin Smith or Linkara styles of, studious of comic books, but he knows what he's talking about.
Yes.
Like, there's a reason why he still even does comics. Like, I think Buffy is still going in comic book form.
And I think Age of Ultron, we would agree, is kind of one of his weaker signs that, like, hey, Joss isn't perfect. Because that movie, but I've said this to you, I don't think it was his fault.
No, I don't think it was entirely his fault either.
I think the problem with Avengers was they gave him this laundry list of characters and things that need to happen.
Right.
And I think given the task he had to do of including, geez, how many people were in that?
Yeah.
All these new Avengers, Ultron, it was a... What do you call it?
A hodgepodge.
A hodgepodge of as many heroes.
Is like a food.
Yes.
Classification.
This is a metaphor.
Sorry.
But it's okay. But that many things in one picture really couldn't go right. And I always thought when I watched Age of Ultron, which is not a bad movie. I don't mean to say
it's not a bad movie.
It's unenjoyable.
It's not like... I think of all the Marvel movies we have, it's one of the weaker ones because they have to cram so much into it, and it doesn't quite mesh right.
Letter grade for me would be like a C, as in it's like you're passing, but
there's a couple things I can kind of appreciate that they slipped in because I just watched it last night in preparation for this, and I like how they kind of shoehorn in Wakanda a little bit to establish it, and they say, okay, all the vibranium comes there. It's like, oh.
Yeah, there's that whole scene with Andy Serkis. I didn't even remember just till now. There's so much happening in that movie that it's really difficult to...
Like, they establish him as a character. I'm like, okay, so I know you're going to be in Black Panther more than likely.
Yes. And what I think about with Age of Ultron is that Joss is not the kind to lose his job over making sure he makes the movie he wants to make.
Yeah, he wants to be employed.
He wants to be employed. He's not like a... Was it Edgar Wright?
Edgar Wright, yeah.
Who stepped out because he's like, no, I don't want to be a part of your Marvel crap. So Joss is susceptible, and I think after Justice League comes out, this will likely be his worst film.
It's very possible.
Because, I mean, this movie's coming out in 5 months.
That might be a bit of a
6
exaggeration.
Months.
Because I don't know if Justice League would be his worst, because he still has a writing credit for Alien Resurrection.
I wouldn't count Justice League as impossibly being worse than that.
I'm not saying it won't be, but I'm saying it right now. I don't think that Justice League will be his worst because we still have that on his track record.
Right, but I'm saying this could be worse than that. Very easily.
It could be, but my prediction.
Because what I've noticed about Dawn of Justice and Suicide Squad is they're really great. The tiniest little hair, Dana. Get off the microphone.
Pluck. Perfect. Anyway.
We're very easily distracted.
We are.
The Suicide Squad and Dawn of Justice were great concepts and great premise, but with terrible execution because of, I believe, producer meddling.
Yeah.
I don't blame David Ayer.
No, but because David Ayer is good.
He's a great director, and I don't know how he made that.
I think, and that's probably producer pressure. Again, I was telling you, and I'll tell them now.
Yeah.
I know one of the producers on these movies is Jeff Johns, who's a really major DC higher up.
Okay.
And I've heard, I'm not sure how close to the truth this is, but I'm going to go with it on this video alone because people have said that he is to DC what Stan Lee is to Marvel.
Okay.
In a sense, and I'm like, I have some things to say about that, but I know he's written good stuff.
Right.
But the stuff I've read has been weird and disjointed, and I don't know if that's spilling over here because he's producer, because DC doesn't know what to do in general.
In their check marking things.
Yeah.
There's not enough jokes. Well, add more jokes.
Jeff Johns is the kind of guy who, if he does something that's contradicting to another story somewhere, he won't just retcon it so it makes sense and it's something.
He'll just be confusing.
No. He'll make entire stories centered around that to explain why that went wrong.
Okay, that does relate to the movie.
Exactly.
Because Suicide Squad is trying to explain why the Joker and why the Batman are... Like, if you weren't reading the comics, the Joker would not be an interesting character.
No, exactly.
For all new moviegoers, there's no reason for you to be excited about the Joker. And anyway, but that whole universe, I think,
it's
I would almost place bets that they're close to retconning.
They probably are.
And Justice League
the only thing
might be the last straw.
The only thing DC knows how to do at this point is retcon.
Well,
seriously,
because
we've had
we still have Wonder Woman coming out.
Example.
Yes.
This is the New 52.
Mm-hmm.
This was something they did back in like 2010, 2011.
Right.
And it didn't last long. It lasted like 5 years before they went to DC Rebirth because they were like, all right, it's too much.
This isn't working.
We messed up. Retcon.
So this wouldn't be out of their control to say, like, okay, we've got Wonder Woman, which I'm still anticipating is not going to be good.
I hope it is.
I know you do, but I've lost all hope because the people in charge of DC are going to make sure that whoever is directing...
We're just going to hang up that Dante quote when we get to the theater. Abandon all hope, you enter here.
Exactly. But you could just add a title credit before... Oh my goodness.
Oh no.
Well, believe it or not,
Take two.
Our studio is still more put together than DC's right now. Even though it's falling apart. It's literally just a thumbtack holding it there, so don't worry about it.
Okay.
But Wonder Woman's gonna, I think, could be their first potential financial flop because I forget when that's coming out. Just a couple weeks from now, I think.
Yeah, it is.
But so it's not directly competing with Spider-Man, but I don't think there's a big enough fan base right now to be like, oh, let's go watch Wonder Woman. I think it's going to be their...
I think we might be underestimating just how many Wonder Woman fans there are. Because there
will be, but remember, I think with DC, because I'm anticipating Wonder Woman to suck, it's all about that first box office weekend, because DC, both Dawn of Justice and Suicide Squad, are record holders for biggest second weekend drop-off in terms of box office. So you get... I don't think there's enough people ultra excited enough to go to the first weekend and be like, oh, that was great, and then tell their friends about it. I think it'll be like mild first,
right,
and then instant massive drop off, and people are gonna be like, don't waste your money. Go watch.
No.
Guardians 2 might be still there. You'll enjoy Guardians 2, and I feel like we're seeing all the best parts of Wonder Woman in the trailers.
Yeah, we are.
In the TV spots, which Chris Pine looks funny, but I'm not believing trailers anymore. I don't believe these marketing teams.
Yep.
They're too good at their job. And then after Wonder Woman, Justice League, I think, might be the last straw. That's
gonna be the straw that breaks the camel's back.
Exactly. If that's a flop, all the critics and all the audiences are like, this isn't working. And if it's a financial flop, because I think it definitely could be if it's right next to Thor. Mm-hmm. That means it's definitely susceptible to a...
Well, yeah, because it was Dawn of Justice versus Civil War, wasn't it? Or
they were a little separated, though. That was a couple months apart,
okay,
I think.
I couldn't remember exactly.
But Dawn of Justice, like I said, was still one of the biggest weekend drop-offs ever. I think it was something like 68%. Mm-hmm.
Well,
that's insane.
One of the things you said was that you're thinking going from Snyder to Whedon, it's going to be two very different movies that are like meshed together.
I think, yes. I think with Justice League now, he's going to do his best to try to correct everything. But, of course, it's not going to work because there's way too much wrong already, I'm sure. But he's going to go in there and be like, wow, what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
And he's going to keep the best possible stuff, remove all the worst possible stuff he can. We'll likely hear about reshoots.
Yeah.
Potentially even a delay.
Like, I wouldn't be surprised if everybody was like going to be working literally round the clock.
Yes, DC has spent, I think they spent over $400 million on Dawn of Justice, which is not an average budget. That is
that's huge.
You're getting carried away.
That's huge.
And it's because they're reshooting so much. Because, like, I think they reshot half the movie or something. But then it, of course, meant nothing in the end. Yeah. And I think we're going to see a similar story with Justice League. We're going to watch it and be like, I can see what Joss was trying to do, but it's
just too much mixed with Snyder.
It's too late in the game, I think, at this point. The movies, they got to be done filming.
Yeah. So
the only way Joss can get what he wants is probably reshoots, and then you have two constricted... Oh, I want to see it now.
I do too.
But like, I almost don't want to pay for it because I don't want to encourage this behavior.
Do you think this is going to be one of the? How many movies have 2 director's cuts?
Ooh.
Because you think this is going to be like a rare example?
Well, that's another question I have. Is,
like,
does Zack have intentions on coming back to DC?
Right. Well, my thought process.
I wouldn't blame him if he didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
If he used this is a very justifiable escape route.
This is.
If you want to retire after that, do it, man. Like, no hard feelings.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Nobody's gonna blame you at all.
No. Well, I mean, the internet is a cruel place, but
Well, yeah.
stay off YouTube.
The internet is a dark, nihilistic hole of despair.
Stay off YouTube,
You
Zach.
can't listen to it.
Don't read those comments.
Yeah.
They're not going to be friendly.
No.
But that's a good question though. If he would come back at the last second and be like, "This is my idea."
Yeah.
But I wouldn't like his. I'm sure I already.
He just
hate
needs
it.
to be a DP.
Exactly.
That's Zack Snyder's ultimate true calling, I think. Because like, if he worked in conjunction with somebody who knew what the hell they were doing, then yeah, I could see him being really great at his job.
Well, even the critiquers who are like, all of Zack Snyder's stuff is like really dark and rainy and grainy. If they knew Zack was their DP, they'd be like, okay, Zack, we're going to be filming in a flowery plain in the daytime with clouds in the sky. You got that? He'd be like, you mean this? And then it's just rainy storm. No, Zack, not that. We said we want it to be bright and uplifting. So you want... And then he shows a picture of like volcanoes and lava, like Mustafar. And we're like, no. So they would just like write the script and lead the DP into more bright, uplifting situations.
Well, I think if
dark rain.
I probably said this a million times at this point. I know I said it in the Master Polarizer video. But like, if you had somebody work with him for like a month, just planning out the shots, like let's just say he wants to do the Court of Owls here.
Okay.
And you gave him this and the other volume, and just like, all right, study every page and tell me how feasible some of these shots are. Then he'd be great at it.
Keep talking. I'm gonna check who assumed the role of the new Batman.
Like, if you just read Watchmen, then actually watch the movie that he did, it's almost like beat for beat the comic book itself, which is unprecedented in the field where adaptations are rife with so many problems. And Zack Snyder, I think, wants to stay true to the original in that regard, but he doesn't know how. Like, he's not good at directing actors all that much.
No,
he's not good at. He's
making a linear plot line.
Well,
he's not good at just making a plot that made sense. The plot holes in Dawn of Justice were big enough to drive a semi truck through. Or five, yeah.
No, they're big enough to drive a world engine through.
Yeah, no, like the whole. We want them to hate each other, but at the last minute he's gonna kidnap his mom. And he's like, why can't he figure out where his mom is? He has X-ray vision and ultra hearing, and then they're gonna fight each other. Oh, it needs kryptonite. Oh, but he's gonna put a tracker on it, and then just blow the whole thing up. There's like, he's not good at.
There's too much happening at once,
right? And
none of it's logical.
And the things that are happening don't make any sense. And there's so few people I know who watched Dawn of Justice and could actually understand what was going on. And they were convinced that it was deep and metaphorical, but I think they were really just being distracted by...
They were trying to fool themselves.
Yeah, they couldn't...
Because I can see, like, one metaphor with, like, the demons come from above. That makes sense to me.
There's lots of good one-liners in the movie. Like that, for instance. Like, they come from the sky.
Yeah.
And
the red capes are coming.
How many good guys stayed that way? And
ultimately,
you were never a god. All those great lines that make great trailer shots, but then
when you
in
put
the
them
movie,
in context, they don't work.
They're not in any sort of context. They're just spewed at you. And I remember there being so many dialogue scenes where I'm like, what is happening right now? I'm so confused. And so Matt Reeves is the director of the Batman.
Okay.
The solo Batman movie. Because I'm thinking about, are they going to continue superheroes after Justice League, even if it's a train wreck, which it's shaping out to be. Changing directors, I guess that really hasn't happened on any of the DC movies recently.
No, it hasn't.
Which means
I think. Do you think they're trying to overcorrect their mistakes?
Yeah, well, I think it's definitely choking at the finish line. That's what I thought Suicide Squad was. They had David Ayer had a set vision for it, and then all the reviews of Dawn of Justice
production mandate.
Yeah, and then they were like, "Oh no, make it happy, uplifting jokes, and then do what Guardians did with all the music." And now they have music every. I think you're right. It's overcorrecting. You told someone, "Listen, your movie's not quite entertaining to watch." So then they were like, "Oh, okay," and then grabbed your wheel and went, and then they ended up crashed in a ditch because they were like, "Oh, people want Harley Quinn to have an accent. All right, let's do that." And then, but the thing is, David Ayer didn't cast Margot Robbie to do that accent.
Yeah.
The thing is, they did all the promotional posters and trailers with Margot Robbie, and then after Dawn of Justice came out, they were like, "Okay, now you need to do the accent." Yeah. And then she does it, and you're like,
it's like, all right, you're Australian, you can do an American accent. That's all you need.
Yeah, we didn't. And that's the exact problem, is it's not one person's vision. Yeah. It was a bunch of people in a boardroom. But the chart says... I love that from Nostalgia Critic. That's great. It's so accurate, too.
It really is.
I wish the producers would watch his reviews and realize that that's what they're doing. Because that's what the fans want. Is it? You keep saying that. What does that mean? Because look at the, positive ratings you're getting. They're not there.
Yeah.
So, is there... What's going to be the scenario if Justice League turns out to be moderately okay?
Well...
Who do we give credit to?
I don't know.
It's like, what if Justice League...
Like, I don't know, but I almost don't want to know.
Yeah. Like, what if Justice League is actually... I don't think there's any chance of it being great at this point, just because of what I've seen.
If it's somehow okay.
If it's somehow tolerable, and it gets something like a 60-70% on Rotten Tomatoes, do we credit Zach or Josh?
I think... For the audience, it's whoever they want, but I think the best thing DC could do would just be like, okay, we're not gonna question it. We're just gonna
we're gonna give
Joss and the directors their vision,
right,
and not touch it, because that's ultimately the main.
That's the last thing they need to do, is just say, you know what, directors, have fun.
Yeah,
and we'll step out.
Just do what you want on it. Do what you got to do. Just make sure it's not too conflicting.
What if they could even do that with Wonder Woman? We don't know.
Yeah.
What if after all the reviews they saw of Suicide Squad, they've just decided, okay, we're not going to tell them what to do.
Maybe.
Even if we have suggestions and we have charts that tell us to do this or this.
That's the main reason why I'm so hopeful for Wonder Woman, because it's just so far displaced from everything else at this point.
Right.
But even then, I gotta ask, like, what are they gonna do to, like, completely destroy that?
Yeah, because that's what I said about Dawn of Justice. I was like, that's such an iconic, beautiful comic and story. How could you mess that up? Yeah. Where Suicide Squad is just like all the cool villains in Expendables form, but then it turns out Expendables is a better movie. And I'm like, oh.
They should have brought on Gail Simone. I think she was I think she did one of the more famous Suicide Squad comics called Secret Six.
Have you seen the rewrites for Suicide Squad? I guess we've talked about rewriting it on here before. We've had some great ideas too.
We have. I got bored and I wrote I think equivalent to over an hour of material for a Batman movie.
Yeah, and everything you pitched was infinitely better than what they're doing right now. But again, that's not saying much. But I did.
I'm a good writer. I promise.
You are. I did like yours. It sounded like something Chris Nolan would be directing, which for me, is a compliment.
Yes.
And I'm really just questioning this scenario. So okay, one scenario is we have the worst Justice League movie ever, which is quite possibly the worst DC movie, because there's not only every producer's hands are in it, but now 2 directors. Both of them being meddled with.
Everyone has blood on their hands.
Yeah, and then alternate scenario, it's moderately okay,
and nobody knows who to credit.
And we go, so what do we think? Do we thank Joss for stepping in, or do we thank Zach for being on the right track? Because we don't know if Joss tied things up last second, or if he drastically rewrote it. It'll be interesting. Like, what do the credits say at the end? Directed by Zach for a year and a half, and then Joss by 6 months. Do you think they would delay the release?
I think they would. I think for such a jarring shift.
I don't think that's a bad idea. Actually.
It's not a bad idea because then at least it gives them more time to fully, fix things.
And breathing room for Thor.
Like I would if I was the main person in charge at DC, I would.
Oh, it would be a good studio. That's what it would be.
Thank you. I would rather that they take their time
and
then we release it whenever the hell we want. Because the thing that bugs me about these is that they're trying to get it all on a metronome.
Right, doesn't that feel like the biggest problem with the DC universe?
That's the problem
rushed.
with a lot of movies like this.
Well, Marvel took their time, though.
Marvel does take their time, but even then, it's like, I get that you have to have a certain amount of movies every certain year that get released, and it has to be
sure.
This year, and they're planning it out, and I appreciate that at Marvel, but
they're having keynotes Apple or Google, here is our next 10-year plan of franchises, but it's you just designed a logo.
It still bugs me how they feel compelled that they have to do it so much on rotation. I just want them to take their time.
Yes.
I don't care. For other movies, you'll have to do that kind of thing where it's all right, so you have to release it in this season because that's when you get the most influx of people. But we're talking about Justice League here. This is
what your universe.
This is as American.
Is supposed to be leading up to.
This is as American as baseball, apple pie, the Avengers, all that. It's pure, that's Americana.
Right.
No one's going to care what time of year it is. Mm-hmm. They're still going to see it in droves because it's so ingrained in our culture. Because how many kids are brought up with Superman, Batman, or any of them?
Superman and Batman, despite being on DC, are still, I think, the most popular superheroes of all time. Exactly. Third is Spider-Man, I think. Mm-hmm. And it's funny now because all of the most popular superheroes in the box office are none of those. They're all the nobodies. The Iron Man, the Thor, the Captain America.
Yeah, you get what I'm saying. Everybody loves these characters because they've been around for so long.
They have a deep history in our culture.
Exactly.
And yet they're being absolutely
Nostalgia Critic keeps saying they thinks that superheroes are the new Greek mythology. And I'm he's right.
They definitely are.
They are so... They're people are going to think we were just a collection of cults devoted to these different superheroes.
We actually believed that the movies were historically evident.
If for some... I want to see an episode of, Earth After People, whatever that show is called, where they just show aliens coming down and are what the hell was wrong with these people?
See, back in the early 2000s...
Have you seen their gods?
They worshipped characters known as Iron Man and Thor, and we'd be no, we didn't worship them. They were funny. But they were but you paid money to go see them, and you would talk about them for hours. We're okay, well, worship's a strong word, but in a way, you could say they're gods to us, but not really because we know it's fake. But
yeah,
I know what you're saying.
I think that'd be the best thing that they can do right now. Just give it some time for Joss to iron out all the bad stuff that Snyder has, and then work off of that, and hopefully we actually get a good movie. Not great. I don't want it to be okay. I want it to be just good.
I think it's impossible to
solid
say
B plus is what I'm hoping for.
Ooh, a B plus. That's pretty high.
Okay.
I was hoping for C.
B minus at the most is what I think we can realistically get. B plus is what I would hope for.
Just by watching the trailer, I'm absolute best case scenario, this is gonna get a 70% on Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah. Not that matters, but to me, I'd likely give it there were some good parts. Man of Steel levels of good, I think is the best case scenario.
So basically you're hoping for polarizing.
That'd
be fine.
The DC haters are going to... Which they are out there. Yeah, people are going to hate DC no matter what. But I'm on their side right now.
They're going to watch it just to hate it.
They're going to watch it and say why this is bad and this is bad. But I think in all these movie discussions on YouTube and stuff, we'll be able to watch it. A best case scenario, at least. I don't think this will happen, but it's possible. We'll be able to watch it and be it's really dumb, but it's not Suicide Squad dumb or Dawn of Justice dumb. It's not on par with those.
They at least tried to make sense.
Yes, you can see where Joss entered the picture. Mm-hmm. I think it'll be very noticeable. You'll see the scenes that Joss was in charge of. You're hey, I understood what was going on, and there was funny parts.
There's going to be a bunch of snark all around.
And then there will be the Snyder scenes where you're what? So Batman hit a kryptonite spear in 3 buildings away where he knew he'd be thrown into. Yeah, just stuff like that Joss can't replace. Mm-hmm. Also, hats off to Joss for filling the role.
Yeah, that's good.
That's very brave of him.
That is, especially at this stage in the game.
Well, he was already signed up for Batgirl?
I think so, yeah.
Why? Why would he do that?
I assume, well...
Money?
Maybe the feminist angle?
Sure. Why not? You know, he has that audience. But, well, I guess he's not Team Marvel anymore. He's not over there.
Well, yeah, because then they give Infinity War over to the Russos?
Correct.
Okay.
The Russos are doing... Which, for some reason, Infinity War is one movie. That I don't think is going to be good.
That's going to be difficult.
I think it'll be average at best, but definitely going to watch it.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, and the of course, the other big reason is I think they could delay Justice League so it's not competing with Thor.
Yeah.
I think if they compete with Thor, they are going to lose
Yeah.
a ton of money.
Mm-hmm.
I have no clue what the budget is on Justice League, but I imagine it is through the roof.
It is insane.
If you had to pay 2 directors in your
Yeah.
process, they're paying a butt ton on marketing. I'm sure there's going to be reshoots now.
Yep.
It's almost too big to be good. Usually when your budget surpasses that 300 mil mark,
Yeah.
it means you don't know what you're doing. So, that about wraps it up for me.
I think that wraps it up for me, too. Just,
Okay.
I'm trying to have a hope spot here, but...
I think my opinions on how good Justice League will be might change if Wonder Woman is good, but I doubt it.
Fair enough.
I think the Rotten Tomato score it gets will influence whether or not I see it. If it's super low again, I don't want to be disappointed again. But if it's getting good ones, I'll definitely check it out.
Okay.
Yeah. But you're gonna see it regardless.
I am. I'm trying to make it my job now.
That's true. You probably should do that then.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay.
I'm gonna shoot an experience video for sure.
Okay. I'm gonna be like, I want to like it. I want to like it. I like
That
the
one's
cast.
gonna die.
I like the cast.
Yeah. I think that's all we can really say. We're just
They could have chose.
there's so much
Great.
in play here that we can't make a safe call.
Yeah. So let us know your thoughts on the Justice League rewrite. Oh my God, everything's breaking.
Yeah.
Oh no, that just fell over. And we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching, Dandrew. Take care.
Bye.